Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Rick. How you doing, man?
Good, buddy. Just drinking a Zima.
I know.
White Claw.
Last week it was a White Claw. Now it's a Zima.
It's actually a sparkling, some iced caffeine water. I don't know. They're in the fridge, man. My daughter's home for the summer, and they're caffeinated, and I don't want hot coffee because it's like jungle hot outside.
So you drink like one of those a day now, huh?
Yeah. Orange passion fruit. Can you feel it?
Iced coffee, it's a thing.
Yeah, that's not my thing.
Just put ice in there?
Iced coffee doesn't taste good to me because you got to put a bunch of crap in it. Now this,
that's how you lose your man
White
card.
Claw derivative. I lost my man card. Have you seen the pants I'm wearing today?
Yes, I have.
Since
Everybody in there has.
Since I've gotten up to 225, with these whitewashed jeans on, they're like jeggings.
I'm not usually on here on Tuesdays. I didn't know it was like real casual, relaxed jean day.
Yeah, that's the day. That's the day when you just break out any of your clothes that you might not want to wear anymore. But yeah, anyway, I'm sorry that you guys can't see them. I'd be happy to stand up and show you per request, but you'll have to leave those in the comments. So Matt, I am super excited about today just because it's a relevant topic. So why don't you tell our listeners and people watching what we're talking about, and let's dive in.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about technology, how we use it, what we use, why we picked what we have. So we're going to I was just going to go through kind of everything, and you can kind of give me an explanation on each of those.
Okay. I'm not even kind of going to do it. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I say that right? A lot, kind of?
You do.
Yeah.
It's okay. I say right after everything I say just to make sure that people
understand.
You say
great question every time.
I know. I just want to make you feel good.
That's a great question. It's like you knew I was going to ask that question.
I did.
Great question. That's because you came up with
it. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a terrible thing to say, by the way, when you're being interviewed. It's great question. Great question. It's basically a pausing technique so you can get your thoughts in line to figure out what it is that you're going to say. So I won't say that today, and I'll try to avoid saying right, as if like I'm trying to get you to, agree with me.
Do you agree?
Right. Of course. Right.
Okay.
Do it.
We're getting goofy today. All right. So the first one I want to talk about is our CRM. And if you could tell people what CRM actually means and tell them what we use. Yeah.
So CRM is just basically the software that runs your business. And there are a lot of options on the market. And it just seems like generally, Matt, just from the feedback that we get, is that people no one loves their CRM, right? So there's the ones that work for the big side of the industry, like an ABC Financial, AFS, I believe, or ASF. I can't, it goes mixed up. And a bunch more on that end of the, I'd say on that side of the industry, which is typically big clubs. And then on the studio side, there's very few that do a great job. But the biggest one, the 800-pound gorilla, is MindBody. And we use MindBody. And I hear a lot of complaints about MindBody, but I actually really like MindBody. And I didn't start liking it until we actually took advantage of the coaching that they give you. Because the great thing about MindBody is that we'll do 1,000,001 things. Also, the bad thing about MindBody is that it will do 1,000,001 things.
Yes.
And so it's a little bit of that old adage, like for programming or data, where you're like shit in, shit out. So if you set it up wrong, if you have one or two little things triggered incorrectly, yes, it's going to be frustrated. But if you get those things right, it's actually a pretty robust option. It's a little pricey, but I think it's worth it. And I know that there's folks listening. I'm in enough online forums to know that there's people who have switched to different ones and switched back. And I mean, like, no one seems to be dead on happy with it. And I think the reason is in fitness, you don't want to spend a lot of time messing around with your CRM. You just want to do the fun stuff, right? But it's a necessary evil. It really is. And so we use MindBody as a CRM, and we simplified it for the franchise drastically. Yeah. And that really helps. And so what we learned is, after being in business, I think we were like customer 4,000 for MindBody, and they have like some ridiculous amount of customers now. I forgot what it is. I'm probably it's either like 30,000 or 300,000. It's some crazy number.
Well, they're huge.
And we were in really early, right? Yeah, they sold like for $2 billion a couple of years ago.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad the payday. And so we were in really early, and we've had a lot of different changes to our business model. And when we decided to go to franchising, it was like, all right, we're going to simplify this thing. Well, it was a little bit like opening up a 30-year-old drawer in your house and being like, what is in here and why is this in here? So many different memberships and just confusing things that we had sort of patchworked together over time. But that was our fault. And so we took MindBody and literally took what the technical term is, we put it in the sandbox and just built a simplified version, closed off all the options that didn't relate to what we're currently doing moving forward. Even our memberships, as you know, are much more simplified. We've got good, better, and best.
Yep.
Not too many millions of options, which, by the way, we've talked on another podcast about less options mean people buy more.
Yep.
And so once we simplified it, then when we gave it to franchisees, we blocked everything around it that could go wrong. And so it made it much easier for them. So if a new franchise comes on board, we just had Kathy and Lara up in Summerfield. We did their training, and MindBody is still a lot to learn, but it's a heck of a lot easier when you can't mess it up because we've literally turned off all the things that you don't need.
Just another benefit of buying an Alloy franchise.
Oh, look at that. So many benefits, right? I can't say that you're going to make money because I think that's illegal in the world of franchising, but you might be very successful and you might maybe be really wealthy if you did it right, but maybe that's all I can say. I think probably my attorneys are having a heart attack right now for even saying that, but it is possible.
He implied that you'd make money.
Yeah. I didn't guarantee it. I said it's possible, but you can screw it up. Don't get me wrong. Everyone is capable of effing the thing up. So, but we like MindBody, and also MindBody has a bolt-on called Frederick, which is their marketing suite. And so I know a lot of people listening to this, they use MailChimp or, God, what's the other one? It's like we used it forever. It just sends out emails and things like that, right? Constant Contact. And so those will integrate with MindBody, but MindBody bought a company a few years ago called Frederick, and they integrate. So if you do the premium version of MindBody, you get Frederick. And Frederick does a great job with, they have great newsletters. You can send out your newsletters, shots to clients, any kind of communication that you want at all. And it's a good lead management software. Now, it's a little bit more convoluted, but we use it for that. And for the very sake of our core value number 5, which is keep it simple, we eliminated a lot of the other bolt-on softwares. And so anyone listening to this that's already in the studio space probably knows that it's really popular right now there's a lot of softwares getting in this space that gets a lead, so a marketing lead, to come into your gym. And even a lot of the agencies that were typically doing lead generation are now like, hey, I don't want to do lead generation anymore. I'm going to do lead automation, which means I'm not going to produce the leads anymore. I'm going to produce a software that gets your leads to the door, right? And they do that in a lot of different ways. There's some pretty advanced, pretty cool softwares out there.
AI stuff out there.
Yeah. A couple of them are really, really dynamic, right? But again, it's another software. It doesn't integrate with any CRM. And so it's sort of one of those choices you have to make where, are you going for simplicity and can you follow up relevantly with those leads? Or are you convinced that if you don't have a lead management software that's going to do all the connections for you, you're saying that basically a less robust system, you're going to lose opportunities because you're not going to follow up with those leads. And so we feel like we've landed on a pretty good happy medium, right? Good middle ground. And Frederick allows us to do that. So one of the examples would be if we're doing Facebook marketing, if you're using, back in the day we used Infusionsoft, which was now Keep, I think it is. And there had to be a widget that sat between Facebook and Infusionsoft. And you had to build out all the things in Infusionsoft. So imagine you've got, your Facebook digital ads, and then they run through a app software, a connector, and it would drop into Infusionsoft, which would then start automated lead follow-up. But then also Infusionsoft would need to connect to your CRM, right? So if you sold a membership, ideally it would trigger in MindBody, which would then speak through another connecting app up to Infusionsoft or vice versa. But what we found is pushing that data back and forth, it didn't work very well. And if you changed one little thing about a Facebook ad or you did anything like that, it would break that connection to Infusionsoft. And you're kind of like this hands-off approach, like, oh man, this ninja work is happening behind the scenes without me.
But then it's not.
All of a sudden you find out that your new Facebook ad, that your agency's running didn't connect well. They broke the app because they changed one little piece of code or whatever. And now you're not getting those leads in.
Yeah, found that out the hard way.
Exactly. And it's not, and so if you're a one-off individual gym owner and you want to manage all of those technologies and knowing that they don't speak well together and you're going to have to stay on top of it almost as a full-time job, then sure, go for it. But if you're looking at a scalable model like we are for franchising, we need to simplify it. There's also from the human element of, and remember, all the technologies we're going to talk about, they're all set up to drive better human engagement. They should be a vehicle to enhance human engagement, not replace it in so many ways, right? And so what would happen is, say in our model, it's the general manager, interchangeable term with director of training, who is responsible for, we produce the leads as a company, and then that person's job is to get the lead to book, get the book to show, and then close the show long-term, and then retention on the back end. And so if in fact it's completely automated, it takes a little bit of the ownership away from the manager. And for someone who's being held accountable to those high-level metrics, I can tell you from personal experience, it makes that person very uneasy not to be on top of it.
Right.
So what Frederick does well is you have to manually take, say, a Facebook lead, and you have to enter them into MindBody, right? So MindBody doesn't make a widget that connects, unfortunately, to Facebook. And so, okay, great. Well, if you have your Facebook lead page, which is super simple, it's like name, email, phone number, I'm interested, right? Great. That's all you have to populate into MindBody. And then once you do that and you trigger the right trigger, right? Okay, this is a prospect or whatever that trigger is. And again, we've sort of eliminated the ability to screw it up. Then it starts automation. So the automation is there. It's just that the connection isn't there. And then part of that automation is sort of a dashboard day over day for duties for the general manager. And one of those duties is, like as soon as we get that ping that we've got this lead, right? Not only is it, we want to get them into MindBody so that they start getting the automated flow of like text messages and emails, but we also want to jump on the phone, because if you can speak to someone and get them to tell you about their goals and dump a little bit of that emotional connection to you, they're way less likely to go do that with another brand and another brand, another brand. They're invested, right? And we do such a good job of this at times. It just had an example. It happened the other day where, basically we have this starting point sales session, and a good deal of that is what we call peeling the onion. Well, Chris, who's our current GM, who's getting ready to move on and open his own gym, he did a lot of that over the phone. So when the client got here, it was like, here's my card. Like it was done already. And the show rate for someone who has a really in-depth personal phone call before they come to the gym is exponentially higher, way higher than if they're just running an automated process only, right?
Sure.
Book online. We had it so that we were going from, this is how convoluted it was when we were trying to do automation, right? And I know a lot of people are doing this. Again, if you want to manage it, great. But I don't want to do software engineering. I'd rather just run the gym. So, you've got, you run a Facebook ad, which is kind of a dark art in and of itself, right? Good. Got producing leads. Awesome. They go through this widget. They go into this sort of lead management. This is old school, right? Well, what we were doing, Infusionsoft. And then you say, okay, great. Well, we want them to just be able to book online. Like it'd be so much easier if they just be like, hey, book here, pick a time, right? Well, you can't do that through MindBody directly, because you'd have to then create an account. And as we know, in an automated process, every extra step, right?
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, causes more people to drop out. So it's like, great. Well, we'll add another calendar widget. And we were using something called Calendly, right? It's like, okay, but that's not connected either. So you had to create a subsequent Google Calendar and then copy that manually into MindBody so that everyone on the team would know when you were available, and they could, book if somebody called. But also this Calendly thing would push through Google Calendar and then push into MindBody. So it was yet another app and a scheduling software. And by the way, all of these things had expenses to them.
Whose idea was that?
Well, it's somebody that really likes putting together complex problems on a whiteboard, put it that way. And it works, again, if you're willing to manage it, sure. But think about all the time that you're spending connecting all these dots under the assumption that a human being is not going to do the follow-up, and so that the automation is better. There's not a person, I don't believe there's a person out there who thinks that a personal conversation doesn't beat an automated message any day of the week.
Absolutely.
So I would like to do a little bit of both. I want to make sure it happens. So get the lead into MindBody, trigger it so that they're going to get text messages and emails, and you can set them up based on where they are in the process. Like, maybe the takeaway one 2 weeks from now says, hey, you still interested in training? Just want to make sure we don't forget about you, that type of thing. Then they go into your long-term nurture, right? But there also needs to be a schedule, a dashboard schedule along with that, so that there's accountability. And then the manager can open up the dashboard and look at what they're assigned. Like, okay, I have to call these people today. And I know it's the second call for these 3 people. And in the second call, this is my script. And so there's not a lot of ways to automate that, but there's a way to keep people on task and like it's going to be more effective. So you got to hold people accountable,
especially in personal training, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's personal. Like, why take the personal out of that by, having some super automated service? And I think there's a lot of what happens in these cases is that people fall in love with the process, not necessarily the outcome. Right. I'm all about the outcome. I don't care how we get from 0 to 10 as long as we get to 10. Where a lot of folks, when they're in the game and they enjoy technology, they really like the fact that they can connect all these dots and watch it work. And there's some gratitude or gratification, in that. I don't have that. I don't really care. Just get it done. And I think if we insert a human into the process and we keep that part organized, much more effective. And I can tell you, people that are really good at sales like being in the process and understanding where the leads are.
Like you said, if they're directly impacted by the outcome, wouldn't you like the opportunity to talk to somebody?
Yes.
I don't know what salesman doesn't want that.
Right. Exactly. Like, hey, I'm trained to do these sales scripts, but yet, I'm
watching him and he's in stage 3. I think it's going well.
Stage 4, he's in hyperspace now. He's moving into stage 5. Oh, when he hits the turbo boosters here, it's it's just like, what are we doing? But I do understand, like, if you have a lot of leads coming in, and you aren't on your sales team, it at least has to be some kind of dashboard interface, right? So that's how we use MindBody for lead management.
So hold on, we got communication, lead management, obviously billing and scheduling.
Yeah, scheduling's a big one. Yep. So that's the thing that MindBody does really, really well, better than anyone else, is the scheduler, right? And so because we are a personal training brand, we have a finite amount of availability for each hour, 12 people. And so scheduling is a big deal. And so the scheduler works great. So you can go online and schedule.
Yeah, there's an app.
Yep. And then there is if you get the premium service with MindBody, you get the premium app, which means it's on brand. So it's on your logo.
Yep.
And you just make sure that clients download it and they can actually change the schedule, look at their account, do whatever they need to do through the app. So there is an extension of the software in an app version that works really, really well for scheduling.
Yeah, I will say that the client side of MindBody is really nice. And they're easily scheduling. They can reschedule, which is key. And that's, like you said, we want to keep it simple when it needs to be really simple for them.
Exactly. And when you look at it, yes, all CRMs are a little bit difficult, but I will tell you, after really taking advantage of the training, having folks on our team that understand how MindBody works, it actually is very robust and it works well. And so, yes, the scheduler is uber important and the customer experience has to be really simple and clean, and they do that well. So the reporting on the back end for us, which is another thing that we use, a little bit more convoluted, but we did spend some time and energy getting some training and built a dashboard for the franchise so that they can pull up these reports and look on a dashboard at the high-level metrics, which again is leads, book, show, close, and retention. And then we also, as the master franchise, can look at those metrics, see where there's some bright spots, where they're doing well, ask them how,
Right.
And then also see where they might be having some trouble, and we know exactly how to coach them up if we know which one of those metrics is a little off or is doing really well. Either way, so. I like CRM. I like MindBody as a CRM. I would just say, if you're going to go with it, make sure you get your coaching and you set it up right. If you just try to play around with it or you put too many things in it, you're not going to like it. But to be honest, you're not going to like any CRM if you do that.
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily have to like it, right? Just like you said, you got to learn it. And then you just have to understand it's never going to do everything you possibly want it to do.
Oh, that's a great point.
Everybody thinks, I'm going to go make my own and it's going to do this little different thing. And it's never going to be that way.
I know. Every time we're in these coaching groups together, someone will say like, why don't we just make our own? I'm like, well, that sounds easy. If that was that easy, someone probably would have already done that. Right?
Well, that's the reason why MindBody has capabilities of doing 9,000 different things.
Exactly.
Because they're trying to accommodate as many people as possible.
Exactly. So, it's one of those things where CRM is not sexy, it's not fun, but it's absolutely necessary. And the customer interface from MindBody is great. And that's the most important thing. Right. So spend your time and money, work with it on the back end. And it does connect to some other things, which I know we're going to get to. So I love it as a CRM. So that's the one we chose. And the main reason we started was the scheduler and the fact that the customer interface with MindBody was great. we figured out how to make it work for us on the back end really well.
Yep. So one of the ones that does connect with it, and we talk about, we have communication, say for content that we use for MindBody, but we use another app called Zipwhip for communication directly with our clients.
Yeah, so texting app. And so unfortunately, MindBody, and certainly as it pertains to Frederick, it makes it a little bit difficult to just send a one-off text message to people, right? So when you look at different texting services, it was really important to us that we could use a texting service that would use our native phone number, just so that people that were receiving the text would know who it was from.
Yep.
Right.
Directly from the gym.
Yep. And so it just helps. And so then we can say, hey, if you need to communicate with us, text us through this. And Zipwhip was great. They do integrate with MindBody in the sense that they just pull all the contacts in, which is nice. And then you're off and running. So yes, you have to have a third-party texting app, but we use it in a lot of different ways. We've talked about those 7 core tenets of running a great session. One of those would be any client that didn't show up, or that was brand new, or that did a great job that day, or that might have been struggling a little bit. It's the job of the coaches in that 30-minute time period after they finish their training shift to send text messages to those people, and they can text back and forth, right? And we use Zipwhip for that as a texting app. So just think about all texting communication is a little bit simpler in a third-party app. That's something that MindBody doesn't do really well.
Well, and the texting app, more just our day and age, people are going to text more than they're going to answer the phone or call you. It's just a lot easier. So all those other things you just talked about are great. And then also the client, there's a lot of times where they're texting in, maybe they're sick, maybe they want to move their appointment.
Yes.
So for our front desk or our coaches, they can easily answer that. Plus anybody can sit down and answer messages. Yeah. Which is nice.
Yeah, it is. And everybody can see what everyone else is doing and what those conversations are. Yeah, it's really important. You would say, well, why doesn't MindBody offer that? And it just has something about different security issues and whether or not you're allowed to send text. It's complicated. The answer to that's complicated. But you can't, MindBody will text people during the marketing process, right? If they've chosen to opt in for texting, right? Which we go ahead and check that box. They would literally have to uncheck it to not get text messages from us. But MindBody doesn't allow for just logging into someone's account and just shooting them a text message. Yeah. Why doesn't it? I don't know. It drives us crazy as well. It's like this should be on your radar for something to upgrade to.
We should just make our own.
You know what? Yeah. I mean, after talking about
just for the texting.
Yeah. Make our own texting app.
Texting CRM.
I know. There's a million of those out there, by the way. I just got a call from a buddy of mine who's in the industry. He's like, I get this earth-shattering new idea I want to run by you. And it might be, but it's some kind of a texting app. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I know what it does. I mean, text people. So some might do it better than others. But again, you got to keep it simple at the end of the day. Like texting is a great way to communicate. We can automate it through MindBody and they'll do it as long as people didn't opt out of the text option. But there's emails going as well and phone calls just in case, right? On a schedule during lead management. But then once you get them in the gym, so we use Zipwhip for people that have already joined the gym is our communication with them.
Yep. It's the best way to do it.
Yep.
In my opinion.
Agreed.
All right. So how about this next piece of technology? This is our rewards program in our system. So what do we use and how does that work?
Yeah, so there are third-party apps that do work well with MindBody, and one of those is called Perkville, and Perkville is a reward system. And so we love it because we've talked about rewards on the podcast before. We use 2 types of rewards. One is that surprisingly personable campaign where it's like really in the weeds, personal, and you learn something about people. And then we spend $300 a month on client gifts of any kind, and they love it. And that's the most impact that you can give, right?
Absolutely.
But on the other end, on the lower rung, I would say on the ladder, is structured rewards. And that's something that we can do automated, which is great. So an example would be if someone comes in and completes a workout that day. So once they're checked off that they did come in and work out, they're going to get points that go directly from MindBody, this trigger, right through Perkville, because they executed this event or they bought a protein shake or whatever those things are.
Totally customizable, right?
Totally customizable, right? Any event that you want. I think of the rewards as sort of yes, it's reward, so it's nice for customers. And it also drives behavior because if you know, it might not be the thing that's going to blow someone away that they got a few points for buying a protein shake or something, but it will drive certain behavior. So if you want people to, if they need to reschedule, if you want them to do it on the app, right? Instead of calling into the gym, well, you could put some points there. So you just have to think about what client behaviors are best for us. And we keep a scoring system around that. And Perkville integrates perfectly with MindBody in that way. So we have a very robust reward system, and we ranked the points based on the events that we felt were most important for the business. Obviously, first and foremost would be a direct referral, right? That'd be 500 points as an example. And so then you say, all right, well, great. Well, we've got these Perkville points. And the way that Perkville is set up is for you to be able to redeem those points for things at your club, right? The problem with that is, being a small studio, we have some supplements and a little bit of active wear, but we don't have a whole suite of things to choose from. So over time, you can only give away so many t-shirts or so many things, right? And so we looked at then yet another tech solution for not only Perkville to organize the rewards and pull them from MindBody based on events, but then how would our clients redeem those awards? And we went with another company called Solutions One, I believe, and that is where the actual rewards system. So Perkville manages the point system. And if you want to just stay within their native environment, you can just use like points at the gym as an example. But if you want to give clients something different, and we felt like we needed to, Solutions One comes in and bolts onto Perkville. So you've got MindBody to Perkville to Solutions One and Solutions One. And again, you get a branded site that looks really super clean. You don't have to go to Perkville and this. Clients just go to Solutions One, right?
Yeah, it's just one thing for them.
Just one site. Yep. It's all branded as Alloy. And they can redeem points for any like local. So like Starbucks coffee. Like I have this many points. I want a Starbucks gift certificate. I want a gift certificate to a local restaurant. I want a sporting goods. I want to go to Dick's Sporting Goods and buy a new pair of shoes.
Yeah, it's really cool. It pulls from everything around you.
Yeah, I mean, you accumulate a lot, and you could take a crappy vacation to Mexico, but you know what I mean? There's a lot of steps in there. Yeah, I know that sounds really horrible, but I can't imagine taking a beach vacation to Mexico on some points from buying protein shakes, but it might be amazing. Who knows, right?
It's just side funny. I was at the
I don't know where's this going.
The county fair, and they got those booths and around, and everybody's trying to sell something. Well, my wife, for whatever reason, got sucked in and bought one of those vacation packages for like, I don't even know how much it was, $200, and you got to use it within like a year. Of course, we never use it because we looked at the thing and it was like all the worst hotels.
Right.
But you just got me with a crappy vacation.
Right, exactly. It's like, I want...
There's other good stuff on there.
Right. Hey, babe, I'll take 2 funnel cakes and that sweet-ass trip to the Baja Peninsula, right? I know. Well, listen, way off topic, but it could be like a super goofy, weird vacation where you get roofied and end up beat up with some bad alcohol or something.
Does that happen?
Not to me. If it did, I wouldn't tell you or
You
anybody else listening. I don't know. Maybe
roofling.
Roofling? Yeah. Well, they call them roofies. You end up on the floor anyway. But point is, like, all that's automated. It's really nice. So clients can just, and there are people that like the gamesmanship of tracking points and things like that. So it's super cool. And people can redeem them and do all kinds of stuff.
Do whatever they want. It's basically being paid to work out.
Yeah. And buy things that they actually use on a daily basis. Right.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Some people will use it and some people won't. But it definitely, like you said, drives good behavior and what you want. It's positive, not negative.
Yeah. And if you could take any event that you wanted to, from a referral down to buying a shake or checking in a certain way or getting a workout or hitting a milestone, whatever those things are, and then push, have Perkville automate that. And then again, for us, we chose to supply the type of awards that customers could use on a daily basis that we just felt were more relevant, and they're all local. So it really cool. That works seamlessly. It works amazing. So yeah, that's how and again, all that's tied back to CRM, which is MindBody.
Cool. All right. Well, the last one we're going to talk about today is our app. So we have an Alloy app, and we have a coaching side to it and a client side to it. So which one do you want to talk about first?
Let's just talk about the app in general, why we chose it.
Sure.
So why do we need an app?
Yep.
And so we ran at one point, you guys, what we call a RFP, which if you're not in the industry to do those things, it's called a request for proposal. And really an RFP is just you put together the scope of work and you basically farm it out to local companies, right? It's a great way to go about it because then you're not doing the work to run down the rabbit hole. You're basically saying, here's the scope of work. Tell me what you got. And they do the work to get back to you with what they would offer you, right? And so we had a couple of needs with an app, and we didn't want to, like, first of all, why didn't you build your own app? Because I don't want to be in the software business. I don't want to be in the app business. So we figured we could pay a little bit of development costs, get a white labeled version built of something that already existed that was really great. So we ran an RFP, and the partner that we ended up choosing was Trainerize. And Trainerize was traditionally built for people like one-on-one trainers to train people at home. And it's really robust. And man, since we've been with them, they have made so many advances, right?
So straight virtual. So I mean,
yeah, like basically virtual training is what it was built for, right? Or one-on-one training, but mainly to build, so a workout builder and a motivational tool for trainers to train people remotely and design workouts. Well, we had a couple of needs. So we wanted that because that to us would be a nice supplement if we had a client that was, say we're working with a gym because we built it, and also, it was for licensees at the time. You're in the Northeast and you're working with a client, and they're going to go to Florida for 3 or 4 months out of the year. Well, you're going to lose that revenue because they're going to say like, hey, I'm moving to Florida. I'll catch you when I get back.
Right.
And they're probably buying some number of sessions from you or something each month. Well, what the app would allow us to do is say, well, wait a minute. Like, go down there, tell me what kind of equipment that you have. I'll build you 3 or 4 workouts, right? And then I can hold you accountable. So you have to check in, and you can even put your your exertion level 1 through 10 and all these interesting things. So we thought, well, that's a great additional tool. Or for that customer who's coming one time a week and you want to give them a couple things to go and do on their own at home, great tool for that. It's just that value add, right?
Yep.
So awesome. And that's what they already did really well. So all we had to do was build our own video library, and we built our own sort of programming conventions, the way that we do things. So it wasn't based on chest and back, and it was my push, pull, hip, knee, good programming conventions. But then we also wanted a couple of things built that were gym facing for us. As you guys know, we do small group personal training, or certainly you know that. And we used to go up to 4, but we sometimes would go to 6, and now we go up to 6. So it's 1 coach, 6 clients. Well, we wanted to be able to communicate, because this is something that we had always done. We wanted to be able to communicate from the starting point session. So whatever the general manager or director of training had spoken about with that client, made these promises that they were going to do. We wanted to be able to communicate that to coaches. And we wanted coaches to be able to communicate with each other around clients, so that regardless of which coach that a customer was working with, they were going to get a very similar customer experience, right? And if you listen to any of our programming podcast, we template all of our programming. And so imagine now, instead of having individual client cards, like we used to have paper cards, and trainers would come in and they would dig through and find all the paper cards, and then they would go through the day and they would apply based on the data from that client to that template appropriately. So if it's a beginner level client with this injury, they did this version, advanced this version, essentially it's the way it worked. Well, our goal was to have a digital version of that. And so we paid some development cost so that that a coach could come in, they could grab the app, open it up, and this is again, just coach facing, populate the app with 6 tiles. And each tile would say like, okay, this is Matt, here's his fitness level, here's his do's, here's his don'ts. And then you could simply toggle between that and the actual template that we build. And a coach would know exactly how to connect people one to the other. And so we paid some development costs for that. It's all white labeled as Alloy. And we also were getting the benefits on the back end of the fact that it was Trainerize, and we still get all the updates of Trainerize. And they have been amazing partners. They really have. And imagine, lo and behold, we have this pandemic, which no one could predict. And we're sitting on the perfect tool to transition while we were closed from live workouts, the coach-facing piece of it that we love, to, okay, we're going virtual. So how do we do that? Well, we split the clients up and put them, each bucket of clients, if you will, was assigned to a certain coach, and the app is full-on built, right, for us to be able to do that. And the funny thing is, a lot of our clients that are coming in 3 days a week that live locally, they weren't really using the app at all, the workout app, And so once we, go virtual, they're like, wow, I had no idea that you had this, and they loved it. It was such a slick, cool, great tool. They could rate how well their workouts are going. We could communicate with clients through that, about their workouts. You can create groups. You can do all these things that we weren't really taking full advantage of until we had to. But boy, were we glad we had it. And I think a lot of our customers that we work with, licensees, and certainly moving forward, franchisees, are going to be really pleased to know that you have a whole nother tool that you can now work with clients virtually. I mean, who knows? I don't think this thing's going to kick off again, but if it does,
sure,
we'll go right back at it. You know, we've got a very viable, best tool on the market, you know, to use. So that's how we chose TrainerOuse. They were the most familiar. They understood what we were trying to accomplish, and we were allowed to build this white labeled version. Other things that pertain to Alloy is one of our partners, which is Functional Movement Screen. You know, we built an adult version of that along with them, and that can be scored in the app along, you know, and so not only do we see it, but customers can then see it on their end. You know, they can see, by the way, they can see their weight and their body fat and all the other progress.
They can track everything.
They can track everything on their end, and we can track it on our end as well. And so all we need to do on our end is make sure that we keep their information updated so that every coach can see it when they pull up the app.
Right.
And that the clients can see their progress. But one of those things, again, one of the proprietary things for Alloy is the functional movement screen, which clients can now see their improvements in movement over time. And that
movement, it records everything, by the way. If you have any like devices, you know.
Yeah, it pulls in MyFitnessPal for nutrition. You could say, hey, track your protein this week. That could be the goal. And now you can see. And you can not only see if they like what their protein was, but you can even see if they tracked it or not. You can be like, why didn't you track your protein? You know? So it pulls in MyFitnessPal, like you said, pulls in Fitbit, pulls in all these other things. So there's so many cool things that TrainerOuse brings to the table that we didn't even really think about when we were, you know, building it, but it's really come in handy during this time when we've had to pivot to virtual. So it's the perfect tech solution, and it's really cool. It's on brand, and the coaching side's awesome. Like imagine for you as a coach, not having any client cards, if you will, or data. You just walk in, you populate your schedule based on, you know, what MindBody's giving you, and you can repeat that schedule very easily because people kind of stay in the same time slots. And there's your 6 tiles. Here's Susie Q. Here's her do's. Here's her don'ts. Here's her fitness level. Toggle over. Here's the template. Just connect the dots. That's it. So it becomes a very systematic approach. And then what it feels like on the floor is it's personal training because you've got someone doing a certain type of push-up. You know, maybe it's you, Matt, and I've got 2 45-pound plates on your back, and then I've got someone who's never been in before. I'm sorry, 4 45-pound plates plus a very large man on your back, and then we have someone in the corner doing push-ups against the wall. They don't feel like they're doing the same workout at all, but all that is facilitated, and then that magic is done by here's the client. Here's the template, and here's how to match the client to the template, and that's how we use it internally, and then of course externally, it's like, man. Perfect tool. So anyway,
that's how you get that consistency, right?
Yeah,
that's what you're talking about. So we get
consistent customer experience.
We get our high moments, you know, that people remember, and then we're consistent every day. It's nice.
It's really hard to do that too, and that's where again, think about the whole theme of what we're talking about today is technology is enhancing the human experience. I think when you look at like online platforms, and certainly with as chaotic as the world is right now, that's probably not the best way to handle things. Certainly as a personal training business, we want more personal interaction as much as we can get. And so our view and our lens on all these technologies is it going to enhance the human connection, or is it going to replace it? And if the answer is replace it, we're not going to do it. We're only going to do it if it enhances the human experience and the human connection. And I think the further we get down the road, technologies are going to be relevant and important, and AI is going to play a big part of this. But I don't see the human connection ever going away. I think the technologies that can enhance that, make it stronger and better, and maybe it carries your brand outside your 4 walls, like what we're doing with the app during the pandemic. That's great. But all of it, what really drives it, there's always a human being behind it. You know, we had people during the pandemic say, you know what I loved about the app was I knew that Natalie was making sure that I did my workouts because she was watching. So it's like, well, I have to check on this app because there's a real coach over there. It's not just on me. Right. There's plenty of technologies out there that you can do what you want, right? But no one's tracking you.
Find a million workouts anywhere.
Yeah, go online, find what you want. But if something's built just for you based on equipment you have at home, and by the way, there's someone whose face that you're probably going to see in a few months who expects you to get this workout done, completely different level of engagement. And so that's our lens on it, Matt. That's just a basic overview of our technology. I hope that helps.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, brother. Thanks, man.